Hello there, everyone. My name is Crazy Caleb, and today we're going to be taking a look at meter. Now, this module actually requires you to have a little bit of a knowledge of how the concept of meter works, and because I am by no means any poet, I'm simply going to be ignoring this, and I'm going to be taking a look at the optimized manual version of this. This module is pretty straightforward what it asks you to do, however, I'm going to save you the time of trying to sound things out and trying to read poetry, because this is not time for poetry, this is time for defusing a bomb. So, let's get right into this. So in this on this module, we're going to have two different lines, which is going to be based off of a text in this case. So what's going to be happening is that we need to find these two lines, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be submitting a specific pattern. And that's going to be based off of the poetic foots we get, and there's going to be some sort of shifting that we're going to be doing with this module. So let's search up what these guys are, and just as a word of advice, there is only going to be guaranteed within one of these sequences. It's not completely random. There is only about looks like 20 or so individual lines that are being used here. So in this case, it should be pretty straightforward what it asks you to do. And I'm obviously going to save you the time of trying to sound things out. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. So we have half a league, which should be enough to search up. Half a league is in the dactylic area. And then the how dead to my heart is going to be the amphibrach area. Note that I do not care for pronunciations, as I never do. So if you happen to be any sort of poetic who happens to know how these things pronunciate, keep your things out of the comments, please. That would be nice. So now let's go down to the bottom. And what we're essentially going to be doing is we're going to be calculating a foot modifier, which is going to be how we're going to shift these things around. And what we're going to do is we're going to look up the values for the first two letters in the serial number. So let's take a look. So our first two letters in the serial number is a uniform and a Victor. Capitalize these, uniform and Victor, okay. And what we're essentially going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at the table 2 letters here, and we're going to be adding them together with the last digit in the serial number. So we're going to get the values of the characters that we have here. So we have a uniform and a Victor, which is represented by a 7 and a 2, and these are the poetic foots of which they are described by, saving you time for not having to try and sound things out. So in this case, we have 7 plus 2, plus the last digit of the serial number is going to be a 4, plus the 4. So now we're going to pop out our handy calculator, and what we're going to do is we're going to essentially be doing a foot modifier for this. So our foot modifier is going to be 7 plus 2 plus 4 is going to be a 13. Now, we're going to find the lines displayed on the module in table 1, and we're going to add the foot modifier to each. Now, what this means is that we're essentially going to be shifting the table down based off of these values here. And as we can see, we actually have 12 values in each individual table from 1 to 12. So what we can essentially do is we can actually modulo our foot modifier by 12 once we get it. So it's going to be a 1. And essentially what this is going to do, and of course it says subtract 12 from each result until the value is between 1 and 12 inclusively. So what this means is that we're going to essentially be taking each of our patterns that we had here, and we're going to be shifting them down by 1. So we're going to be going down from dactyl to the iamb, so in this case value 8, and we're going from the amphibrach down to the dibrach, which is value of 5. Makes sense. And now, with this in mind, we're going to find the modified values in table 1 and take the corresponding pattern, and this is what we're going to be submitting into the module based off of the U's and the S's. So let's take a look and see what we need to do. And this is all in the all based off of the order of which the module appears. So we're going to do the first half, then we're going to do the second half. This is how this works. So we had half a league, which was shifted down to the iamb. And in this case, it wants us to submit the pattern of U and S. Now remember, U is represented by the U in this case, and the S is represented by the other symbol, in this case being the dash. So in this case, we're going to be submitting a U and an S, and that's our first symbol taken care of. It doesn't disappear like it would on maybe some other modules. And now, we're going to take a look at the second display here, which in this case is represented by U, U. So we're going to submit U as the pattern. And just like that is a solved module. So that's all we simply need to do with this. I'm saving you a lot of time with the poetry nonsense of it. Personally, I did not learn poetry in high school, nor did I want to, and I'm glad I haven't, because of the fact that it's an interesting experience. But the manual itself is a little bit different with how it works, and most people end up using the optimized. It does not give you It does not give you the patterns of how each of these work. It gives you telephony, but it really does not explain how meter works. So in this case, I'm simply saving you the time and the lectures of how this module works, and I'm simply just teaching you how the optimize works, because there is a guaranteed solution for each of these guys, and they've already been sorted out for you. So let's go over one more example. Let's make sure that we understand how this works. It's not too hard, but it might be a little bit easier to, it might be a little easy to mess up. Just make sure that you do not forget how the, that you need to add the last digit with the serial number with the first two characters values. So let's take a look at our last example here and see what we get. So our first two characters of this, our first two letters of the serial number is going to be a Juliet and a Zulu. Juliet and a Zulu is going to be represented by 9 and 2, so 9 and 2. And then we have a last digit of the serial number of 2, okay? So 9 plus 4 in this case. 9 plus 4 happens to also be 13 again. Modulo this by 12 is going to be a 1, rather quite interesting. And we're essentially going to be moving down, moving everything down by 1. So let's find each of our values here. So we have rough winds. Okay, so this is our value right here. We're going to shift this down by 1, and we're going to submit that pattern. That's the way that this works. So now we're going to do a Q, U, and S. And then for cry, we're going to be shifting this down by 1, in this case being a USS. And just like that, we're done with the module. That's all you need to do. Hopefully that makes sense. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to stay crazy, stay cool, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.